Clones, dragons, monkeys, ancient weapons, and heaven are just some of the things you'll find in one of the most famous stories in history. I'm not talking about One Piece, but instead Journey to the West and the Monkey King Sun Wukong. Hello everybody, welcome back to Den Den Kushi, where we dive deep into the world of One Piece and unravel some of the spiciest theories out there. Today we're exploring a fascinating connection that goes beyond the seas of One Piece, the striking parallels between Monkey D. Luffy and the legendary Monkey King Sun Wukong, from the classic Chinese novel Journey to the West. Now, you've likely heard people mention this story in relation to One Piece before, but it's time to get read up on how similar these stories really are, and look at what the end of the story tells us about what to expect in future arcs of One Piece. Now, I'm sure you're thinking One Piece draws inspiration from various sources, and Oda has a knack for incorporating cultural elements into his masterpiece. But what if I told you that Luffy's journey shares striking similarities with the Monkey King himself? As always, I'll speedrun some basics, and from there we'll dive deeper and see what One Piece mysteries we can solve. So let's dive into the theory. Okay, Sun Wukong, like Luffy, embarked on an incredible journey that started with a sense of freedom and a thirst for adventure. Luffy, much like the Monkey King, set sail to become the Pirate King and discover the fabled One Piece. Both characters share an innate desire for exploration and the pursuit of dreams. We see this particularly with Luffy in One Piece, where he's very chaotic, like he establishes the current order wherever he goes. Another intriguing connection lies in their companions. Sun Wukong had his loyal companions, including Pigsy, Sandy, and Tripitaka. Similarly, Luffy has his Straw Hat Pirates, a diverse and loyal crew that supports him on his journey. The dynamic between the characters in both stories echo the importance of friendship and camaraderie. Now, in terms of powers and abilities, Sun Wukong possessed incredible power, such as the ability to transform and manipulate his hair into clones, the power to control the clouds, and his famous staff. In One Piece, Luffy's Devil Fruit ability, the Gum Gum Fruit, grants him rubber-like flexibility and strength. Both characters showcase supernatural abilities that set on their respective journeys. Sun Wukong faced powerful deities and formidable challenges during his journey, much like Luffy and his encounters with powerful foes like Yonkos, admirals, and warlords. The theme of challenging authority and overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds is a central element in both narratives. Now, with all that covered, let's get into the real spice, because there are some absolutely wild connections. So the story begins in the east, in the middle of the sea. It's noted there's a mountain that stands between heaven and earth, which of course is a reference to Reverse Mountain. Here we discover an egg that we are told is hatched by the wind, revealing a monkey. This no doubt ties to Roger's egg, Dragon's wind connections, and the monkey clan as a whole, particularly Luffy. The newborn monkey then bows to the 4 compass points, or cardinal directions, north, south, east and west. Some speculate this is what this page in chapter 1 was all about. The monkey goes on to grow up around his own kind, much like Luffy did with Garp. And here's where the first major part of the story happens. The monkey takes an important leap of faith, a theme we know that is very close to Oda. Is probably best demonstrated by Oda's early work, Wanted. One story is centered entirely and concludes with a young male taking an impossible leap that he believes he can make. In Journey to the West, the monkey jumps through a waterfall, and in classic literature, water usually represents the subconscious, so the mind. We see this with Luffy too, as he falls into the sea but is saved by Shanks. By making the leap, the monkey is made the leader of his tribe, or in One Piece, it pretty much shows to Shanks that Luffy is potentially the chosen one, which Shanks goes on to bet on. The Monkey King loves life and all its beauty and grows afraid of dying, as he will no longer be a part of it. Now we have another very important part in which the Monkey King decides to travel to the kingdom of man to discover the secrets of life, in the hopes of evading death. What makes this so important, however, is because it represents the fire thief meme, most famous with Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods to give it to the humans so that they could advance their technology, only for that very technology to go on to destroy the humans. It's highly likely this is a huge inspiration to Oda if it is in fact true that Emu has unnatural extended life, highlighted by the fact the inhabitants of Marijois refer to themselves as gods. This is in contrast to Kureha, who seemingly has natural extended life, or youth, the secret of which she tries to tell everyone she encounters, as opposed to it being some esoteric secret. You may have heard me speak a few times before about how I believe this could be a product of her living in a tree or being in touch with natural forces of the world, kind of like the Voice of All Things vibe in a way. Moving on, however, the Monkey King meets a master called Sabaody and is given the name Sun Wukong. You could equate this to Luffy's transformation in Wano into the sun god Nika, but there's multiple times in the story where Luffy has received a new identity and transformed from it. At one point, for example, he's called Lucy, etc. Later on, the Monkey King travels home, only to discover it has been taken over by demons. This could very well reflect the Gorosei and their arrival at Marijois centuries ago. Using strands of his hair, the Monkey King creates an army of clones, a theme we are currently seeing in Egghead. After this, the Monkey King meets the Dragon King, as the Dragon King searches for a weapon. However, it is the monkey that finds the weapon, not the Dragon King. Some may think the Dragon King refers to Kaido, however, it's more likely Kaido is partly inspired by the demons that took over the Monkey King's home, seeing as Wano has connections to Joy Boy but was in the clutches of Kaido until Luffy liberated it. The Dragon King referenced in Journey of the West is more likely tied to the Celestial Dragons or even Emu. The symbolic reference of the dragon is the West, which is what Marijois is used to represent in One Piece. In this case, the humans that look down on lesser species. This is what initially showed me that Monkey D. Dragon's name is so important and super spicy in terms of the future of the story. Okay, so once the Monkey King has his weapon, he battles his way through Hell, where he is granted true immortality. I think this likely foreshadows Luffy's battle against the Gorosei over time, but tell me what you think it could be in the comments. It's also mentioned that all monkey names are crossed off Death's list henceforth. Anyway, leaving Hell, the Evening Star ensures the Monkey King's entrance into Heaven, the next realm, by which I mean the star was acting as a guiding waypoint. This is exactly what we get with Lodestar in One Piece, which is an island where all magnetic fields gradually arrive at an end. The reference to Lode here means a waypoint, often magnetic, which ties us also to the Lode poneglyphs, and refers to the guiding star, the guiding principle. This star features heavily in the Nativity in the Bible, as well as other myths. After being guided to heaven by the Evening Star, the Monkey King returns home now all the demons are vanquished. However, Heaven's armies are sent against the now immortal Monkey King, and the Monkey King is given the job of the guardian of the Emerald Peaches. In other words, Heaven has come to bring this misfit back into order and into the natural way of things. You know, he's got extended life, he's kind of unnatural at this point, so Heaven's trying to straighten it all out. The Peaches are said to be sacred to the Queen of the West, and they are also said to be reborn every few thousand years. The Monkey King is forbidden from eating the fruit, and of course, what does he do? He eats the fruit. It goes without saying this ties to Luffy getting his fruit and how that all comes about. Ultimately, this results in the Monkey King not being invited to a banquet, and in retaliation, the Monkey King freezes some women at the banquet, eats all the celestial food and drinks all the immortal wine. Now, my gut tells me that this is why we see so many wedding cakes and wedding ceremonies, because rather than having a normal banquet, in Oda's version with One Piece, I think we're going to have a wedding that someone may have not been invited to or banned from, or somebody who, you know, a spurned lover, somebody who loved the bride, and they're going to cause these sort of similar problems. We know freezing is important in One Piece because of it's one of the only ways to like suppress will and stuff like that, like we see the Straw Hat and Marijois. Drop me a comment if you've got any questions about that sort of stuff, but moving on. So after eating all the celestial food and drinking all the immortal wine, the monkey eats a load of immortality drugs and leaves out the Western Gate. So here we have a reference to all the chemistry we see throughout One Piece, from energy steroids to heroes water to hormones with Eva. Heaven, which in One Piece is reflected by the world government, struggles to stop the Monkey King from leaving, but finally sends Arlong and the Beast Spirits to capture him, and they succeed. Arlong, of course, is the name of the fearsome fishman, and Beast Spirits being the inspiration for the Beast Pirates. Every form of execution they tried failed, including trying to behead the Monkey King and putting him in a magical oven, which is personified by Kaido's execution attempts, and Odin boiling in a pot. This all eventually culminates in Buddha arriving and making a wager with the Monkey King. This wager could very well be why Oda included the Davy back fight. However, I'm not too sure personally yet. Alternatively, the wager could be between Emu and the Celestial Dragons, but instead taking the form of an agreement. The Monkey King loses the wager and so is locked by the 5 elements, which are water, earth, fire, metal, and wood, inside a mountain. Later on, a monk frees the Monkey King on the condition that he escorts him to the west, and that is where the story starts and ends. It's cyclical. Okay, so let's unpack some of these last bits because there's a lot going on there. Starting with the 5 elements, this is also featured in One Piece as follows. Water ties to rain god, earth to earth god, fire to sun god, wood to forest god. Now, this leaves us with metal. Pretty easy to explain for those who don't already know. Metal here represents the unnatural or foreign material, a third party, you could say. So, like in Naruto, you have a third party that shows up despite the antagonist and protagonist already beefing it out. In One Piece, we have Luffy versus the world government, or like world system, and then Blackbeard acts as this force coming from the outside to destabilize the established. Also in One Piece, the moon seems to reflect his theme of technology and ideals that are outside the current system. The fact the Monkey King is sealed away using 5 elements suggests Joy Boy, his will or his dream, was also sealed away by the 5 elements, harnessed potentially by the 5 members of the Gorosei. Potentially metal Saturn, considering we've seen him around all this technology, and a lot of Vegapunk references are often metallic or to metal, like his hometown in Karakuri. And finally, the Monkey King is said to be sealed in a mountain far away from the west, which inevitably makes the east, right? So this is undoubtedly Reverse Mountain, which just so happens to be where the Grand Line ends, but also where it starts. So as I mentioned a second ago, notice how the journey to the west starts in the mountain in the east and ends with a mountain in the east. It's because the story is cyclical, like I say, much like the One Piece world. I actually have a video exploring this concept and the idea that inherited will might actually be a curse. This cycle might not be able to be broken until you fulfill the inherited will, which is Joy Boy's dream. Anyway, okay, so thanks for joining us on this little journey. What are your thoughts on the connection between Sun Wukong and Luffy? Do you see other parallels we might have missed? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe for more One Piece spice. It really helps the channel. I know this isn't my usual type of video, but hopefully you liked. If you did make it this far, you've just been officially invited to Brook's new tour, and make sure to check out SSJ8 Cody on TikTok for unhinged One Piece content that will probably convince your mum to watch the series. Until next time, keep exploring the Grand Line, and may your dreams be as vast as the open sea. Bye.